Look at the window. The second window from the left, upper story. Harrowfield Church, 1854. A daguerreotype taken by surveyor's assistant William Collis on the morning of October the 11th. That window was bricked up. It had been bricked up for 11 years before this photograph was taken. And yet, there is a face pressed against the bricked-up window, not behind it, not suggested by shadow or pareidolia, pressed against it, skin deforming against a surface that, according to every municipal record, was 40 inches of solid masonry. This is catalog entry HRF 441, held in the Wiltshire County Surveyor's Archive. And for the next 11 minutes, we are going to examine this single image with the precision it demands. Pass 1. Objective image description. The daguerreotype measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches. Silver on copper plate, consistent with the Becquerel developing method common to the period. The image depicts the north-facing elevation of Harrowfield Church, a 14th century parish structure in the village of Harrowfield, Wiltshire. Visible in frame, the nave wall, 2 lancet windows on the ground floor, 3 apertures on the upper story. The first and third upper windows show dark glass, as expected. The second upper window, the center aperture, shows solid brickwork. The infill is clearly visible, slightly lighter in tone than the surrounding stone. Flemish bond pattern, mortar lines distinct. This is unambiguously a sealed opening. And against that sealed surface, a face. The features are not vague. The daguerreotype's resolution in this region is remarkably sharp. A human face, oriented frontally, with the nose and left cheek appearing to compress against a flat plane. The mouth is slightly open. The eyes are directed downward, not at the camera. The flesh of the forehead shows a flattening consistent with pressure against glass, except there was no glass. There was brick. Pass 2. Documentation. William Collis recorded the photograph in his surveyor's log, entry dated October 11, 1854. His notation reads, quote, "Exposed plate north elevation, 842 ante meridiem. Conditions, overcast, no wind. Exposure approximately 90 seconds. Anomalous mark on upper center window noted upon development. Presumed plate defect." End quote. Collis did not use the word face. He wrote anomalous mark. He submitted the plate with 17 others as part of a structural survey commissioned by the diocese. The surveyor's report, filed by Chief Surveyor Edward Tarrant in November of that year, contains a footnote. Quote, "Plate number 12 shows a blemish on the upper story, which Mr. Collis attributes to a chemical impurity. I have examined the plate under magnification. The blemish is symmetrical and detailed in a manner I cannot reconcile with any known plate defect. I recommend the plate be excluded from the official survey, but retained in file." End quote. Tarrant did not use the word face either, but he used the word symmetrical, and he used the word detailed. In 1854, a daguerreotype plate defect that is both symmetrical and detailed is not a plate defect. A sworn affidavit exists, dated January 1855, from the Reverend Thomas Payne, Parish Rector. The affidavit was submitted to the diocesan office and states, quote, "I attest that the center window of the upper story was sealed with brick and mortar in the year 1843 under my direct supervision. At no time since has the seal been disturbed. There is no cavity behind the brickwork sufficient to admit a human person. The original window space was filled entirely." End quote. Payne was not shown the photograph. The affidavit was requested by Tarrant as part of the structural record. Payne was confirming the building's condition. He did not know he was confirming an impossibility. Pass 3. Escalation through measurement. In 1911, the Wiltshire Photographic Society conducted a retrospective study of early daguerreotypes in county archives. Plate HRF 441 was among those examined. The Society's analyst, a Mr. Gerald Foss, produced a detailed report. Foss confirmed the plate showed no signs of double exposure. The silver grain was uniform. There was no evidence of retouching, scratching, or chemical manipulation. He then performed measurements of the anomaly using a calibrated loupe. The face, and Foss was the first to use that word in any official document, measured proportions consistent with a human head at approximately 2 meters distance from the exterior wall. 2 meters behind a surface that was, according to Payne's affidavit, solid throughout. Foss also noted something that Tarrant had not: the flesh compression. Where the nose and cheek meet the plane of the window, there is visible deformation of soft tissue. This is a detail that requires a physical surface to press against. Light alone does not flatten a nose. Shadow does not compress a cheek. Something was pressing against something, and the only surface at that location was 40 inches of brick. In 1973, the plate was digitized for the first time as part of a county heritage project. The scan revealed a detail invisible to the naked eye and to Foss's loupe: condensation. Around the nose and mouth of the face, on the surface the face appears to press against, there is a faint halo of moisture, consistent with breath, consistent with warm exhalation against a cold surface, except the surface was brick. Brick does not fog with breath. Brick is porous. It absorbs moisture. It does not display condensation patterns. Unless the face was not pressing against brick. Unless the face was pressing against something else that occupied the same space as the brick. Pass 4. The modern problem. In 2008, Dr. Lena Voss of the University of Bristol's Department of Optical Physics reviewed the digitized plate at the request of a doctoral student. Her assessment was clinical. The image, she wrote, displays a coherent three-dimensional form at a location where no three-dimensional space exists, according to architectural records. The form exhibits properties of reflected light consistent with human skin, including subsurface scattering in the cheek region. The compression pattern is consistent with a face pressed against a smooth, transparent surface, such as glass, at moderate pressure. The condensation pattern, if genuine and not an artifact of the digitization process, would indicate biological respiration. Dr. Voss offered 3 possible explanations. 1. The window was not fully bricked up in 1854, and a person physically stood behind remaining glass. This is contradicted by Payne's affidavit and by the visible brickwork in the photograph itself. 2. The image is a deliberate hoax, produced by exposing the plate twice. This is contradicted by Foss's grain analysis and by the absence of any overlapping exposure artifacts. 3. The plate records something for which we do not currently have a physical model. Dr. Voss did not endorse explanation. 3. She simply noted that explanations 1 and 2 were falsified by the available evidence. She left the matter there. Finale. One detail remains: the eyes. Every analyst who has examined this plate, from Tarrant in 1854 to Voss in 2008, has focused on the compression, the condensation, the impossibility of a face against brick. None of them addressed where the eyes are looking. The face is pressed against the bricked-up window from the inside. It faces outward. It should be looking at the camera, or at the churchyard, or at the sky. It is looking down. The angle of the gaze has been calculated from the digitized scan. The eyes are directed at a point approximately 6 feet below the window and 2 feet from the base of the wall. In 1843, when the window was bricked up, The parish burial register records that a new grave was dug in that exact location. The name in the register is illegible. The entry has been damaged by water. Only the date survives. And the date is the same week the window was sealed. The daguerreotype of Harrowfield Church remains in the Wiltshire County Archive. Catalog entry HRF 441. It has never been satisfactorily explained, and the face is still pressed against the bricked-up window, still looking down. What do you think it is looking at? Tell me in the comments.